So we're going to talk about face reading today, Chinese face reading. If you're new to Chinese face reading, it is a way, it's almost like astrology, but not, because it's actually on the face. And so it's looking at the particular traits of the face, the lines, the wrinkles that reveal subconscious patterns to that person that have been created a long time ago, hidden personality traits. Chinese face reading reveals what somebody has gone through in the past, which then you can use to determine what somebody will continue to repeat in the future. So it's not like future telling, but it's basically saying like, here's a pattern and here's where that pattern repeats itself. So most likely this will happen until that person becomes aware and conscious of that pattern, which then gives them the free will to change that pattern. And what's really cool about Chinese face reading is that the face changes. Destiny changes. So it's almost like a quantum physics concept. When you look at something, it therefore changes because your awareness changes the molecular structure. Your awareness changes how all of those little particles are moving around each other. So it's the same thing with face reading. When you bring your awareness, the light of your awareness, which I imagine all the time to be just like a flashlight as a useful metaphor, when you bring the light of your awareness and you look at something that is hidden in the depths of your consciousness, meaning you're not aware of it, it's subconscious, via looking at the face, change happens. In fact, it can't not happen. And that's really the beauty of face reading, is that you get these insights and these changes that no other system that at least I have ever found on the planet works as quickly and as accurately. I have read faces for 30 seconds or less with an extreme amount of accuracy, like an amount of accuracy that continues to blow my mind. And I know definitely the people that I am reading, it blows their mind as well. And really what I get excited about is the inner work that comes with it, because so many people, especially on TikTok, are talking about like manifestation. And I love the concept of manifestation. However, I'm going to give you an analogy. The reason with, or the problem with most manifestation practices, and I just posted a little bit of a video on this, is that people are so focused on the masculine side of manifestation. Who do I need to become? What do I need to do? How can I write this affirmation 555 times in order to get to where I'm going? And all of that is useful, has a time and a place for it. But if you're not doing the shadow side, which is what Chinese face reading invites us into, you're not going to get very far. And that's because if you imagine you're underwater in some kind of submarine and you're hitting the gas on the submarine. I don't know if submarines have gas, but stick with me. Don't ask me about emotions and Chinese face reading. I could talk about all day, like vehicles and things and boats. I cannot. So stick with me. So the submarine, you're hitting the gas on the submarine and you are trying to get through the water as fast as you can. You are trying to get to your manifestation. However, you don't realize, because you're so focused on where you're going, you don't want to stop and pause, that you have these really heavy anchors attached to the back of your submarine. And these anchors are dragging along the ocean floor. And so each time you put more fuel into the submarine to go faster to where you want to go, right, to what is meant for you, these anchors create more drag along the ocean floor. It actually slows you down. So what Chinese face reading, and in particular the emotional map of the face, which is where we're going to start, it shows you a direct portal into what those anchors are. And then I have the tools. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but I have tons of free options for you if finances is a thing, so that you can actually take your awareness, look at those anchors, cut those anchors, and then your submarine is going to soar. And I have done this enough times with enough people, long enough to know that, especially if you've never done shadow work before, if you've never cut those anchors, the moment you choose to cut an anchor, which I will teach you how to do, your submarine will start moving really fast and it will blow your mind. You won't even be able to track it mentally because things will shift so fast. So let's talk about Chinese face reading. And I'm open to questions. I'm just taking a quick look at the comments. I don't think we've had any. So let's talk about Chinese face reading. When we're looking at the emotional lines of the face, we're looking at like lines that a lot of people have here in between the eyebrows. The forehead lines mean something, the shape, the size, how they go, how they transcend. The shape of the hairline means something. We have lines here that mean something. All of these lines, these lines, these lines, this line, any horizontal lines across the face. All of these have meaning. Now, the reason that the lines show up on the face is because in Chinese medicine, we have meridian channels, right, that run through the body. And these meridian channels go through different organ systems and are attached to different emotions. So for example, this area here is called a liver area. It's in between the eyebrows, right about here. The liver is correlated to the emotion anger. So lines here show liver function, but they also show repressed anger. And that's just one example of the emotional map of the face in terms of Chinese face reading. So let me know what lines you guys have. I will periodically look down at the comments. Okay, so what does 11 lines mean, but becomes triangular as it goes on to the forehead? Okay. 11 lines, even if they're diagonal, mean the same thing. It depends how triangular they are, and it depends if they come down past the eyebrow. Lower than the eyebrow, then that's in the gallbladder channel, and that is more worry. So I'm going to talk about 11 lines. I'm going to talk about worry lines, and then I have a horizontal line, someone says. And I'm assuming the horizontal line is here, because that's usually where it occurs in the gallbladder channel, but let me know where your horizontal line is. So because from the eyebrows to about here, right here, this is it's called a minor liver area, shows relationship to anger. So if there is 2 lines, the 11 lines, that means that the anger is more experienced as repressed frustration, like annoyances that happen frequently. Usually people with 11 lines are very, very impatient. Things are never quite moving fast enough. There's a sense of urgency to things. Now you always have to double check the lines here with the strength of the eyebrows. So strength of eyebrows just means how bushy, how thick are the eyebrow hairs. When somebody has very bushy, very thick, very long maybe eyebrow hairs, especially if they have a unibrow, which most people pluck. So if you're ever, doing a face reading clinically, professionally, I always ask, do you pluck in between your eyebrows? And I will usually ask that if they have very bushy eyebrows. Because if there's hairs, extra hairs in between the eyebrows, that is actually extra liver strength. The eyebrows are correlated with the liver. And then the last thing I check the 11 lines with, or any lines here with, is the brow bone. So the brow bone, you can see it from a side profile, and it's this bone right here that my eyebrows sit on. So the brow bone shows levels of testosterone in the body. So if you ever notice MMA fighters, professional fighters, generally, they have quite a brow bone. Generally speaking, their brow bone is very pronounced, and you're going to start noticing this everywhere you go. It is wild. And because their brow bone is very pronounced, they have extra testosterone. They have that masculine drive, especially when it comes to that of a physical nature. Extra hairs in between the eyebrows is extra aggression. Now, most people hear that and they go, ooh, like extra aggression, that's not a bad thing. However, just hear me out on this aggression, because there's a huge shadow side to aggression, obviously, but there's a massive light side to aggression. Our bodies are hardwired in a way that are extremely similar, if not the same, to our pre-farming ancestors. So when our ancestors were very tribal, nomadic species. And in those tribes, because there's one left in the world called the Bushman tribe, and I have a very close friend that has lived with the Bushman tribe, so I got all this real-time juicy information. But what happens in the Bushman tribe, so they're still living in alignment to our biological nature, is that there's a big difference between biological men and a big difference between that and biological women. So the men go out and hunt, right? We all know this. And the women stay and they collect berries and they gossip and they talk and they tend to the children. So there's just different functions. And in tribes like that, oftentimes a man will have more than one wife. And I'm not advocating that we go back to tribal times. I'm not advocating for non-monogamy. It's nothing like that. I'm just giving an example of how we're actually hardwired. So in these tribes, the man will often have more than one wife because he gets a wife or a counterpart, and that wife wants him to provide for her friends because she likes her friends and she wants to almost like be sister wives with her friends so that the man can provide food and sustenance and protection for her friends. And so if we imagine, let's say I'm a woman in this tribal time and we're nomadic people and my main goal is survival and to care for my young, to care for babies, to have babies, to feel safe, and then to nurture those babies in a safe way, what am I going to be attracted to? I am going to physically be attracted to, emotionally be attracted to, and spiritually be attracted to the man that has more aggression, because the man with more aggression is able to go hunt for food, essentially. So I just give that example just to kind of put into play, because I think men get a lot of misinformation right now about their identity, what masculinity means, what it means to be a man, what women want, what women don't want, the feminism movement. And I'm not anti-feminist, but there's a lot of mixed messages where men are starting to just feel like, what the fuck do you want from me? Like, you want me to show up, to do this, to do this, to do this, to deal with all of your emotions, as if he was speaking to a woman, to deal with all of your emotions, and then to remain present and then be vulnerable enough to share my emotions. So there's a lot happening for men right now that is just kind of like through consciousness being worked through. And if you want more information on that, go to my Instagram channel. You could spend days just on that. If you're a man and you want more information on men's mental, emotional, and relational health, and if you're a woman and you're like, want to understand men better, go to my channel. My entire Instagram, Kate Colley, is dedicated to men. Like, you'll get there and you'll be like, oh, the whole thing is dedicated to men. It is of service to men, okay? Because I get it. I don't know why I get it. I mean, I could give you that story, but I just get it. Men are going through a thing right now. And so we all need to show up to support everyone, ourselves, but we also need to include men in that process too. Okay, that was a mouthful. Let's get back to Chinese face reading. So when I say that the extra hairs in between the eyebrows are extra aggression, it's not a bad thing, right? There is an integrity piece. There's a responsibility piece for a man that has extra testosterone, that has extra aggression, that has bushy eyebrows, and that maybe has some lines in between his eyebrows. That might be difficult for him to channel his anger and aggression in a healthy way. That's what the challenge is. The anger itself is not a problem. Anger is never a problem. In fact, no emotion. And as we go through the face, I'm going to tell you, oh, this is worry, this is anxiety, this is over nurturing, this is bitterness, this is disgust, this is anger. None of these are a problem. The only reason that emotions become a problem is when our little baby, 5% of us conscious mind looks at it and goes, oh shit, this is a problem, and it decides that it's a problem. It places meaning, because this is what our brains do, place meaning on everything. If I'm feeling angry, therefore I am doing something wrong. Let me distance myself from my anger so that I don't have to feel the shame of feeling anger. That's where people run into problems. Anger itself is not a problem. Anger, if you imagine there's a vibrational scale of emotions, the low emotions that really don't feel good. We're talking depression, which is actually a self-loving state of grayness, but that's a different thing. If anyone wants to talk about depression, I'm happy to do that, okay? Because oftentimes having one line in between the eyebrows, it doesn't mean depression in a direct way, but it can be a sign of depression just because there's so much push down anger. So at the very bottom, we have depression. We have shame. That doesn't feel good. We have grief. That's a tough one to feel. We got fear, right? We have sadness. A little bit higher up than that, we have anger. Anger is an emotion that has movement to it. Depression doesn't have much movement. Shame has little bit of movement. Anger has movement. It's why people punch people when they're angry, but they punch walls, right? It's illogical movement, but it's always from a place of self-preservation. And we're going to talk about fight or flight real quick. Okay, because it's all wrong. Everything you've been taught about fight or flight is wrong unless you actually know what I'm about to say. It is not fight or flight. Okay, we have to look at zebras. We are mammals. If you're listening to this, you are a mammal. Zebras are mammals. The way we respond in the animal body to stress is very similar. The zebra and the wild. We're just going to take the zebra. I'm going to make this really quick. Zebra in the wild, grazing with its buddies in a tribe, okay? Tribal species. Humans, tribal species. Totally in rest and digest and relaxed. What happens? Lion comes out of the bushes. Zebras all what? Freeze. The initial freeze that happens is marked by stress, but it is also marked by a little bit of curiosity, a little bit of what just happened, let me look at the scene, and a little bit of just freeze. If I don't breathe, they won't see me, okay? What happens next after that initial freeze? The zebras start to run. And then once one zebra runs, they all run. Same as humans. We don't realize it, but we're always just copying each other in mass movements, but that's maybe too big of a concept for right now. Okay, so zebras run. Let's say the lion goes after one zebra. This zebra is now in a state of stress. And its first line of defense is to freeze. That didn't work. The next line of defense is flight. Okay, we're talking about fight or flight. It's freeze, flight, blood flow leaves the digestion, goes into the zebra's hands and feet, and the zebra runs. The zebra is not thinking about reproduction. The zebra is not thinking about, oh, I'm thirsty. The zebra is not thinking about, hey, where are my buddies? No. The zebra is literally focused on one thing and one thing only, that is the lion. I must get away from the lion, and it starts running. Doesn't know where it's running even, okay? And we're going to tie that into another concept, so remember that. It runs. Lion catches up, and the lion lunges at the zebra, and let's say it gets the zebra's jugular. This is why body language is so accurate. If you heard me on TikTok when I say if someone touches their jugular, everyone loves when I say that. Jugular, it's just a fun word to say. But when someone touches their jugular, adjusts their necktie or their tie, I don't think people wear ties anymore, just their collar, a woman plays with their necklace. Massive sign of stress and fear. The only reason someone would ever touch their jugular is out of self-preservation. That is not at a conscious level. Body language is subconscious. So lion goes for zebra's jugular. Now, the last ditch effort that zebra has to survive is what? Fight. Okay, so fight comes last. And fight is marked by anger. It's marked by rage. It's marked by this experience of the body when the body goes, dude, I love you so fucking much. I value life itself so fucking much that I'm going to employ testosterone. I'm going to employ all of this biochemical, everything I've got in my body to fucking fight the lion. It's the last ditch effort for survival when there's a threat coming at that zebra. If the zebra fights and can't get away, and there's somewhere in the zebra's body it goes, ooh, this is a losing battle. If I keep fighting, I'm going to have a very painful death. Because fighting while you're dying is that's the worst kind of suffering. So what does the zebra's body do? Enters trauma. This is where trauma comes from. Zebra's body goes, there's nothing I can do to get out of this situation. So I will shut down my awareness. I'll basically float above my body, disassociate, and go numb. I won't feel anything because I love myself. I don't want to suffer. So everything stems from self-love. I gave you all of that because I just opened up so many loops. I will going to try to close all of them in this session. But just to explain the purpose of anger, there's no emotion that is bad. Humans go through the same thing when we experience anger, when we experience frustration, when we experience rage. When we act on that anger, we produce non-useful results in our life because we are basically saying to ourselves and others that there's a threat coming at me, but there's no threat. We just have these identities. We have a sense of self, and often we get angry when something or someone threatens our sense of self. When there's a perceived threat coming at us, the body responds the same way as if there was a lion attacking us. But anger itself is not bad. All that anger means, if you have lines in between your eyebrows, all anger means is that your consciousness is stuck. Remember that vibrational scale of emotions? Your consciousness is stuck here at anger because there's a perceived threat coming at you. It's probably not a real threat. Now, encoded in the information of anger is this little piece of gold called a boundary. When you have anger, or when you have these lines here, let's say you're experiencing active anger or you have repressed anger, very important for you to realize, what is it that you want to feel empowered relative to? Okay, that's moving your awareness up the vibrational scale of emotions. And what authentic boundary do I have? And what am I perceiving to be as a threat? Okay, so you have to ask these questions so that you can understand why the anger is there, and these lines will start to dissipate. Either that, or they'll turn into 3 lighter lines, which means evolved anger. Okay, so that's my little anger talk. Frustration is the same thing. It's more of like repressed frustration, repressed impatience. It's not so much rage and anger. One line here is definite anger. But I want to circle back to the loop that I opened around checking it with the brow bone and the eyebrows. So when somebody has large brow bone, bushy eyebrows, it means they have a lot of liver energy. So their capacity to feel anger is large. And it's not a bad thing. They can hold anger in their body without checking out. They're probably really good at fighting. Okay, not a bad thing. When somebody has very thin eyebrows and a flat brow bone, or sparse eyebrows, or light eyebrows, or just not a lot of eyebrow hair, those people have very weak liver energy. So their capacity to hold anger is very, very small. Those kinds of people usually have 2 lines, because a little bit of anger in the body, a little bit of frustration in their body, when you don't have these strong liver traits, feels really intense. It feels unbearable, and they will do anything to get rid of that anger. Okay, so that is the 11 lines. I think I circled those loops. I did open up some loops on depression. I opened up a loop on trauma. I opened up a loop on fight or flight and how to exit fight or flight appropriately and correctly, because it's not what you think. It is not by bulldozing yourself with even very spiritual self-help kind of techniques that's going to miss the point 95% of the time. So I did open up a lot of loops. I'm going to look at questions now. I'm going to keep talking about the face reading traits, because if you've been on me live before, I'm always like, oh, we're going to talk about face reading. And then I go into a speech about lines, which I just did. But I'm going to get back on track. All right, so horizontal line. Losing stomach fat. Oh, I could totally answer that. Yes, I can post this live on my YouTube channel. I actually did, if you go to my YouTube channel, I did post a portion of the last live that I did last week. I posted that to my YouTube channel. It's only 15 minutes, and I'm going to post another 15-minute segment, and I'm pretty sure that's the flow I'm going to get into, is like posting segments of these lives on YouTube so you can rewatch, because I really do, if you've been with me before, I want to give you everything I know. I just want to be of service to you. That is all. So that I'm giving you as much as I can. If you want to take it to the next level, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can subscribe. That's a 0-cost way to support me. You can watch my videos. If you want the next level of support, I do take one-on-one clients. You can apply. The link is in my bio. And I have a phenomenal course. And I almost feel gimmicky when I say this, but I actually mean it in the realest way possible. I teach you how to get rid of trauma from your body in an instant. It's not like a snap your finger instant, but it's like a 5-minute instant. And it works. I laugh because it blows my mind that more people don't know about this. I didn't know about it until 8 years ago, well, 7 years ago, when it spontaneously happened to me at a somatic therapist's office. And I remember the moment that switch turned on in me, and I paused. I remember being like, this feels crazy. I don't know if I can surrender to this feeling. And when I did, my body released so much trauma. And then I did that like every week for 2 years. I became a different person. Like, I just can't explain it. If you saw a picture of me then, I was like 20 pounds heavier. I smiled like this. I had social anxiety. I wore all black, which I never wear black. I'm wearing black today, but I wore gray. I was very gray. I was like an eggshell of myself. And that was the one thing that completely changed my life. And then I package that with all these questions you're having now. How do I do this process of finding out what my boundaries are? Wow, how do I understand all these emotions? How do I understand the lines in my face? It's all in my course. It's called Rewild Your Release. That's like, if you're like, you know what? I'm sick of the therapy stuff. That doesn't work because you're just regurgitating and talking about from the verbal part of your brain the same things over and over again. I'm sick of repeating patterns over and over again. I'm sick of this relationship. I'm sick of calling in the same person. I'm sick of being lonely. I'm sick of being that. If you're just done, if you hit your place where you're like, I'm done, I need something that works, that will change your life. The results I get from that are phenomenal. Like phenomenal. It's called Rewild Your Release. So anyways, that's a paid option. Like I said, I have other free options as well. A lot of that is on my YouTube channel and a lot of it is in my link in bio. See, I talk fast. I get so excited about this. I mean, I really do. Because you know why I get excited? I'm going to go back to questions. I get excited because I used to suffer so much. I was suffering so much that I had disassociated from how much I was suffering. I didn't even know what I was missing. Life is actually really cool, but I didn't know that because I didn't understand the connection to my body. I didn't even know emotions had a purpose. I didn't know emotions existed in the body. I didn't know how to feel them. I thought every time I felt angry, something was wrong with me. Literally. I literally thought something was wrong with me my entire life until I learned the techniques I teach in Rewild Your Release. I also have, again, some free ebooks, link in bio, and some YouTube channels on it. And yes, I will post this to YouTube. Thank you for your question. Okay, so back to face reading. Horizontal line. So the horizontal line that you're talking about most likely is right here. This is in the gallbladder channel. And anytime we have a horizontal line, I'm showing you where they normally appear. Actually, it can be here too. That's a heartbreak line. Creativity, and this is a not Jing blocker. Well, they're all Jing blockers, but this one is like working too hard. There's just too much output of Jing. So Jing in Chinese face reading is just life force energy. All that means is that if you have a horizontal line in any of those places, your Jing, your life force energy, which is the energy you are born with, you cannot create more of it. You can only buffer it. You can only protect it, and it'll be used over a lifetime. Those lines mean that your Jing is being used a little bit too much in some way. But each of those lines has a different meaning. So if the line is here, because it's in the gallbladder channel, so we're talking about a horizontal line right here, because it's in the gallbladder channel, the Jing, your life force energy, is being used too much because you are intaking most likely food, but I'm going to give you another option, that is not useful for your body. What does that mean? It usually just means that your blood sugar is unstable, that you're probably eating too much sugar, you're probably eating too many carbs, you're not being mindful of what you're taking into your body. And because your body is working so hard to process the foods that you are putting into it, it is actually having to pull upon your life force energy to even manage it. So it's a definite indication of a sign that you need to change your diet. Okay, if you tell me your blood type, I can help you. As a general rule of thumb, and you can do a quick Google search on this. This is easy. If you know your blood type, just type it in. What should I be eating if I'm blood type O? Meat. Okay, meat. Don't eat a lot of grains. Don't eat a lot of sugar. Low glycemic fruits, right? And blood A is like fish. Okay, I know mercury is a problem. I actually get this is tangential. I get a seafood box from Seatopia. I'm sure they have advertised to you. And if not, if you Google search them, they will start to advertise for you. It is the best fish I've ever had. I love fish. I'm blood type A. So fish really does yummy things for me. But I don't like the mercury in the fish, and I don't like the fact that it's unsustainably farmed. So I get my box from Seatopia. It's like a non-paid advertisement. There you go. Maybe I should sign up for their affiliate program or something, because I genuinely love my fish. My kids love their fish. They beg for it. It's so good, and it feels good when you eat it. When you eat food that's authentic to you, it just hits different, and that's the key to getting rid of this line. Oh, and about that line. This line on a more spiritual, mental level, it's like the information that you're taking into your body is not useful for you. So things like, I don't know you personally, but things like stop watching the news, stop giving so much of your energy to thoughts and things that are taking you down a rabbit hole, and it could be relationships. So are you spending time around people that are really nurturing you, Or are you spending time around people that are taking your energy? So that's the horizontal line. Okay, I see a question, the hairline 2. Is there more to that question? Jules G. I'm not sure if you're still here, but let me know. And it looks like, oh, it has a number 1 next to you. So thank you for being number 1. I don't know what that means, but I love it. The hairline shows the relationship with mother. A lot of times the relationship with mother, but it could also be the relationship to the feminine, and that there's some differences around the hairline. So I'm going to show you my hairline. Looks quite different because I have this. You always want to not look at it like this. This is an inaccurate view of my hairline. I'm going to show you my hairline. You're going to be like, oh, that's my hairline. Okay. So I'll just use my own face. I'll point out some different things. It's like a receding hairline. A lot of men have this. This is called extrapolative thinking. So extrapolative thinking, a lot of times if men are balding this way or balding this way, it's because they have a lot of mental energy. It can be on the downside from overthinking. On the positive side, it can be from mental execution for their career, for their work. It usually means that they're very driven in mental pursuits, and it can benefit their career. That would accurately describe me. And extrapolative thinking is almost like I can take, and people with this line, or sorry, not with this line, but with this extrapolative hairline, with the receding hairline, can take different concepts. My hair's all messed up now. Can take different concepts, like different schools of thought, and piece them together in a very unique way. And you can also look at the more rounded, mine's not super rounded, but the more rounded and large someone's forehead is, they have their mental activity, their intellect is very like broad. It's very expansive. They tend to overthink, but it can be in a very unique way. So it's just unique thinking is extrapolative hairline. Now, you can also see with my hairline, I do not have an oval shaped hairline. It is jagged and doesn't make sense. That signifies a very difficult relationship with the mother figure, which you don't know me personally, but most, look, I'm like stumbling. Most of my inner work, actually, that's not even true. A lot of my inner work, meaning my shadow work, what I've worked on in my life, is around my relationship to my mother. And it hasn't been like directly with her. It's been the representation of her that I hold within me that has held me back and that I've struggled with. And struggle is not bad. Struggle is pressure to uncover diamonds. Okay. So if you're like, oh shit, I have the hairline too, I have a crappy relationship with my mother. No, pressure is good. Choose the pressure. Otherwise, the pressure is going to choose you. It's going to squash you into the ground. But if you choose the pressure as I am unfolding into my highest and best, then you're golden, right? That's the key difference. You have to put the correct frame around it for this little AI function in your brain to spit out the right information. Because if you're putting the frame around this information of like, oh shit, I have a crappy relationship with this and that, whatever, I have this repressed emotion, fuck, something is wrong, the brain will put an ugly frame around it and it'll be like, great, see? Meanings are lies, comes from the same part of our brain. Same part of the brain that creates lies is the same part of our brain that can generate meaning. It's what differentiates us from animals in the wild. They're not lying and they're not placing meaning on everything, therefore they are not suffering. Generalization, but there it is. You got to put the correct frame. An incorrect frame, an ugly frame, a not useful frame will spit out information of like, you're a piece of shit and all variations of that. You suck and you're not good enough and all the variations in that. And then that frame sends that loop back to this. This is a reticular activating system, not a penis, in case you were wondering. This is a reticular activating system. It's like an antenna, okay? And it goes, sorts for, how can I validate what is true about the information in this frame? Oh, right, okay, good. I will start looking for the people, places, things, experiences, body language, movements that support the fact that I am a piece of shit and I'm not good enough. This is what your subconscious does. Your subconscious doesn't give a shit if it's useful or not useful. Your subconscious just goes, okay, if this is what you're telling me to do, this is the information I will spit out. So you got to put the correct frame on it. But let's get back to the hairline. Does that make sense? I have a small widow's peak. It's kind of there. Not very prominent. The widow's peak is extra yin energy. So yin is feminine. People with widow's peaks are very attractive to the opposite sex. And again, mine is very small, but people that have like a nice, like women that have like that nice widow's peak, they usually have a heart-shaped face. They can be a little bit like prima donna, but they're very, like, it's like the drama is very attractive to the opposite sex. Now, this is something that I have learned just from working with thousands of people, not anything I've been taught. So I'm framing it that way so you know. I have noticed, we're gonna get a little bit shadowy here, into the shadow side of human consciousness, but I have noticed that women, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes, with a widow's peak, with a nice yin widow's peak, they tend to hold on to extra body weight. Why? My theory, after working with thousands of people, and I originally started my business working with women with eating disorders, getting to the root cause, because I have had all the eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia, and binge eating massively. So I get them, I understand them, I understand why they occur. And difficulty with weight loss. You know how you gain weight and then you lose weight, you gain weight, you lose weight. Like I said, I used to be like 20 pounds heavier. I was working out way more when I was 20 pounds heavier. Like I work out now, but it's like not like I used to. Like it doesn't feel like working out. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like I don't put in a lot of effort into like having a nice body. I have a nice body because I've done the trauma release work. Okay, we're circling back around to that. That's all in Rewild Your Release. So women with a widow's peak, I have noticed that they can hold on to extra weight because they're so attractive to the opposite sex that they have received usually male attention sexually, can be sexual trauma, but it can just be male gaze, male attention in a way that did not feel comfortable to them. That either caused complex trauma, which is a threat to the sense of self, or, and the sense of self has to fragment, or physical sexual trauma, which is obviously a real threat to the physical body. So what happens when that threat occurs at a young age, because they have this heart face shape, they're attractive, is that the subconscious goes, that wasn't good. I didn't like that. That didn't feel safe. How can I protect myself from that ever happening again? Oh, I know. I'll create a barrier around my body, and we call that body fat. We call that, I can't lose that last 20 pounds, or I am severely overweight, and no matter what I do, I get down to a certain weight and it always comes back. There is a reason for absolutely everything, and the reason for absolutely everything always comes down to a self-loving, positive intention that the body has. That is the hairline. I think I complete that. Okay. So dense eyebrows are a lot of liver energy. Thin eyebrows means not a lot of liver energy. So eyebrows, like if you have eyebrows that come to here-ish and then sort of stop, those people even have trouble holding on to friends. They have trouble having a lot of friends. It's like their capacity to hold things is very, very limited. People that have thinner eyebrows overall, or not a lot of eyebrow hair, have really, their physical nature can be more delicate, in the sense of that processing toxins is very, very difficult. Processing lots of fat is very, very difficult. Processing difficult information is very, very difficult. So thinner eyebrows just means there's a delicacy, there's like a sensitivity about what that person can process and what they can hold in their body. What's a boundary you have that people don't respect? I'm assuming that's a personal question. What's a boundary I have that people don't respect? How do I answer this? Like, the thing about boundaries is like people generally think about boundaries incorrectly in terms of like, no, this is my boundary. This is what you can't do. It's actually not what a boundary is. A boundary is what defines me from you, Jeremy. So if my favorite color is pink, which it is, my favorite color is pink, and your favorite color is blue, right? If your favorite color is blue, my favorite color is pink, that's a boundary. Why? Because I know who I am and where my boundary ends. I like pink. This is who I am. And if you come to me and you're like, I like blue, this is who I am. I can respect that your favorite color is blue, and I can respect that my favorite color is pink, and we're on an even playing field, and there's an intimacy, right? Not like just intimacy meaning like there's a closeness. Our bubbles of our favorite color can get as close as possible, and then we meet each other's need for connection and intimacy and closeness with other humans, which is a massive human need. That's what a boundary is. A boundary, all it is what defines you from others. So in terms of a codependent relationship where boundaries get very mixed up, it would be like if I was like, well, my favorite color is pink. And Jeremy is like, well, my favorite color is blue. And I'd be like, oh, well, actually, I like blue too. Pink's actually not my favorite. All of a sudden, I don't have a boundary. My sense of self has been dissipated, and I am placing Jeremy's sense of self higher than my own hierarchically. That's the definition of codependency. It's a boundary issue, amongst other things. Independency would be like, fuck you, not fuck you actually, but like, fuck you. You're stupid for having your favorite color be blue. My favorite color is pink, and I can be alone now. I'm not going to meet you at your favorite color because you don't agree with my favorite color. Now the hierarchical balance is different. I am better than you because my favorite color is pink. When we talk about it in terms of colors, you're like, wow, we all do this? That's stupid. Right? Like, it's totally stupid. But we can only say it's stupid in terms of colors. When we get into things that are attached to our identities, that's when we start perceiving threats to the sense of self when we feel like there's tigers after us. It's not really tigers, just think about it in terms of colors. So the other thing I was gonna say about boundaries is like, if I set a boundary with somebody in my life that I am close to, that I want to stay close to, and I say, hey, here's my boundary, and they don't respect my boundary, it is 100%, this is important, 100% my responsibility to change in order to maintain my boundary. And when I say change, I mean I have to change my relationship to that person. If it's like a boundary here and there, nobody's perfect, right? But let's say they keep violating the same boundary over and over again, I have spoken it. If it's especially an intimate partnership, as a woman, as a feminine being, I share my feelings. This feels not so good. This feels not so good again. And this feels not so good. And somebody is continually disrespecting, then I go internal and I say, here's my boundary. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling uncomfy because this boundary is not being respected. I have no empowerment to change another person. That's the thing that people miss about boundaries. I can't make someone respect my boundaries, nor would I ever want to. I want people to be them, and I want to be me. It is not my responsibility to change other people, but it is my responsibility to orientate my sense of self correctly to my relationships so that my boundaries are being respected. So if a boundary is constantly being violated, I would change my relationship to that person in some way. I don't have a direct answer because this is obviously a hypothetical kind of thing. I don't have people in my life that disrespect my boundaries. I just don't. With that said, I am a full-time single mother, and my 7-year-old definitely disrespects my boundaries. So that's the final answer to my question. That was the actual, that's a challenge for me. All right, what about losing stomach fat? Where is your stomach fat? And I know it's like a explicit question. Is it lower stomach fat? Is it all stomach fat? And is it how much extra fat do you have in your body? Because generalization here, but if we're talking 40 pounds or more approximately of fat held on the body, that's usually, more often than not, if you really struggle with it and you're 40 pounds plus of extra body weight that you'd like to lose, that is usually a physical trauma that's locked in the body. So if you want more on that, send me a DM. I feel like it's such a vulnerable topic, and I can totally talk about it. I don't mind. I'm just not sure how applicable that is to everybody that's here right now. But I could definitely send you more information. If it's a lower amount of body fat, it can come from different things. Again, it depends where it is, because the body acts as a hologram, same as the face, right? We've been talking about face reading. The face, all it is a hologram. It's literally just like, oh, here's a mirror so we can see our patterns. The body is the same thing. And so if you have extra fat, like I have one of my very, very best friends he actually does not have, he has like 9% body fat, but he has like a little tiny pooch right here that drives him crazy. And it's right here, it's right above the root chakra, right? So the base of who we are, it's right here. I've been telling him for years, I'm like, it's because there's a trauma of some kind that's lodged in the root chakra. Okay, I'm gonna say something super explicit. So don't have children around, and you guys might judge me for this. But I literally, and I actually mean this literally, I literally have told him, I'm like, because he doesn't like receiving head. He just doesn't like it. It makes him feel weird. And I have told him, I'm like, this might not be true for your stomach fat, whoever was asking that. But I was like, if you want to lose that body fat, you have to get rid of the trauma that's stored there, which means that if you learn how to receive attention on your root, AKA have someone give you head for a really long time, with loving intention, it would activate that trauma so that it could be released from the body. Now, that's not clinical advice that I would ever give anyone. This is from my very best friend. But yeah, the body acts as a hologram. Why does he have a little bit of fat there? Because 9% body fat? That doesn't make sense, right? It's something stored in the body, and the body is holding on to fat, mirroring it, right? Remember how I said that people hold on to fat as self-protection? He was holding on to that for self-protection. A more clinical answer of how to lose body fat, look into your blood type. If you're O, you definitely need to be eating meat. If you're A, you definitely want to be eating less meat. I think you're the same person that has this line, so you definitely need to clean up your diet. That's for sure. You definitely probably need to be eating less sugar. That's going to help with body fat. And I would recommend potentially, without knowing, I mean, look it up. There's different things like intermittent fasting, this and that. Here's my ultimate answer. Now that I'm talking about it out loud, I have a free hypnosis. It's 11 minutes. It's called the Rewired and Inspired Hypnosis. The link is in my TikTok bio. It's 11 minutes. Go listen to it and visualize. I walk you through the whole thing. It's like a really easy, it's not even like super hypnotic, but it's just enough to create a real massive change. Imagine in that hypnosis, the version of you who just doesn't have any body fat. This is the better question. Instead of me telling you what to do, because that's actually not useful, the human neurology always rejects what people tell it. But the human neurology never rejects what it comes up with itself. It's like a big key right there. You write that down. Listen to that hypnosis and imagine who is the version of me that just doesn't have body fat. Who is that, right? Because if you change at the identity level, your beliefs and your actions and behaviors must change as well. If you are just trying to change your actions and behaviors, you will eventually fail. And I know it sounds pessimistic, but it's true. Because you're not changing the identity. And the identity will keep shooting up information. You'll be a constant battle with willpower. And willpower is a very finite resource. So go straight to the root. Identity. Okay, can you talk about depression? Yes, I can. Okay, I'm going to briefly talk about depression, then I do want to get back to face reading. Okay, so depression is a self-loving process that the body employs when it perceives that there is no way out. And when I say self-loving process, what I mean is that if the body is constantly in this cycle of pain, we're talking years and years and years, or one massive event, but it's usually with depression, it's like years and years and years of, I'm trying to generate anger, but I can't seem to have my anger be useful. And then there's a letdown of like, wow, my anger was not useful to meet that need, to get that boundary set, to get to where I want to go in my life. And there's futility to the anger. This is the root of depression. When there is futility to the anger. Futility means there is nothing I can do to change this. For example, when somebody passes and we get angry because that person is no longer here, which is part of the cycle of grief. There's futility in that. There is no amount of anger that will ever work to make that person come back. And I know that's a really sad example, but I give it to you like that so you can really understand the futility of depression. That's why it feels so awful, because depression is the exact opposite state of our human nature. Our human nature is to be at the top of the scale of the vibrational scale of emotions, is to be an empowerment, right? That's when things vibrate quicker, we manifest quicker, things are moving quicker. Go watch my video titled on YouTube, the 4 steps to heal any emotional trigger, because if you are not operating in empowerment, it's okay. We have all consented to going down into these lower realms, into grief and sadness, into depression, into shame. Every single one of us has felt all of them to varying degrees. Any of those uncomfortable emotions, plug into my formula in that YouTube video, the 4 steps to heal any emotional trigger. It works every time. It spits you out the other side in empowerment if you do it correctly. And then obviously Rewild Your Release will have the very much in-depth expanded version of like how to take every aspect of your life and bring color and love to it. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, so depression. Depression is futility. So there's a cycle leading up to depression that goes, I'm generating anger, right? Remember the example of like the lion is attacking the zebra, and the zebra gets angry because it really loves its life. And so the anger is generated for a very good reason, because maybe the zebra could actually generate enough anger to fight off the tiger. That's not futile, right? Like, that's possible. That's in the realm of possibility. What happens is depression is there's something, usually some part of your past or some part of yourself, that there is no amount of anger that is useful because the situation is futile. It is not in your control. It is not in your empowerment. So there's this letdown, sinking feeling after the anger. And we loop in that several times before depression sets in. Because the body is running through this process of like, anger, I'm going to do something. Oh, I'm disempowered. Oh, this feels awful. And when you go from here, I'm trying to be empowered, to complete disempowerment, that fall hurts every single time. And it hurts bad, like worse each time it happens. It's like you're constantly falling. You're constantly falling. And then you fall, you hit the bottom, it fucking hurts, but you somehow find it in yourself to pick yourself back up. And you're like, you know what? This is what all the body does. This is mostly subconscious. The body goes, well, you know what? I've got this. I'm gonna seek empowerment again. Even though it is futile, we don't know that yet. I'm gonna seek empowerment again. I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna get angry again. I'm gonna try to access my empowerment again. So it generates all this momentum in the body, and then it falls. And then again, and then it falls. And every time you hit the ground, there's this worsening feeling of this is hopeless. Oh, it's that feeling of like, I don't think I can pick myself up again. It's useless. There's no point in trying, right? If you have struggled with depression, you can probably relate to it and say, I have certainly struggled with depression. That's why I can explain it so well. I know this feeling. It sucks. It's the worst. Eventually what the body does, you hit this down, and one of those times, the body, not your mind, okay? It's not your fault. Your body goes, you know what? I love you so much. I do not want you to be in pain. It's weighing options. And the body goes, if I pick myself up again and I try to reach empowerment, I actually can, my nervous system can't sustain it if I fall again. So what I'm going to do instead is, oh, TikTok's about to kick me out here. Hang on one sec. I have to do a puzzle piece to stay here. Okay. What the body does is instead is, I'm going to stay here on the bottom as a self-loving protection mechanism from experiencing future pain of failing towards something that I do not yet consciously realize is futile. Did that make sense? Should I repost this part on YouTube? Because depression's a big topic. The way out of depression is little by little by little. Because you have to remember, depression exists on the very bottom of this vibrational scale of emotions. It's actually a state more so than it is a emotion. It's actually a process. It's a state. It's something that the body is actively doing and actively employing out of self-love and self-preservation. Okay? The body says, I'm going to keep you here in depression because I love you so much. I don't want you to have to go try for that thing again and fail. It's too heartbreaking. It's too painful. So the way, okay, I have to close this loop now. The way out of depression, little by little by little, because we don't have a lot of wiggle room. Down here in this low state, there's no empowerment. There's like, you can move this much. This is what you have. But they have the biochemistry to move this much. Maybe this much. Little bits at a time. To start to realize, to start to do the shadow work relative to what is it that I want so badly in my life but is futile. An example of this, someone that I've worked with. The root of his depression was the futility that in his 20s, he let his childhood past basically like grip his neck, chokehold him, metaphorically, and he didn't show up in what he truly wanted. And so he was in a constant state of beating up, being angry towards his 20-year-old self, his 25-year-old self, wishing and praying that he could have been different because it's led to futility. So the futility that comes with depression is usually why I say anger is very productive, right? Anger, not when you act on the immediacy of anger, but when you use the information of anger to access your next action step from a state of empowerment. Most of the time there's some type of wiggle room. There's a third option that you're just not seeing with anger. But in the case of depression, the repressed anger that was being generated is futile. So there's no usefulness for your anger. That's a tough one to swallow. Like when you really feel the emotional impact of that the anger you feel is actually futile, you'll notice this shift in your body that comes next is grief. That's how you slowly get out of depression, is you have to first access a little bit of anger to understand, just to understand what is it that I want to feel empowered relative to, what is futile in my life, and to then actually use the function of grief, because your body never produces anything against you, including emotions, to use the function of grief to come back to this present moment, to come back to the reality, and to actually find embodied acceptance, not fake acceptance. You can't choose to have acceptance. Acceptance is a spontaneous state when you've allowed grief to do its thing. Grief has an intelligence. And when you grieve the fact that it's like hauntingly beautiful. There is nothing I can do to change this circumstance or change the past or change this other person or to get what I want. But it's absolutely futile. And you allow the grief to move through you, you will exit depression. And I've seen it happen. So I'm not just randomly giving you information about depression. I have seen it work clinically. I work at a drug, alcohol, and severe mental health clinic. So I've worked with this several times and in my private practice. That is depression in a nutshell. Again, Rewild Your Release. It's going to have a lot more information there for you, because almost always with depression, there is a component, usually a large component, of stored, locked trauma in the body. What happens with trauma, right? We talked about this. When that state of trauma occurs, time gets frozen and consciousness leaves that part of the body and leaves that part of time. So there's an aspect of you that's actually stuck on a different timeline in the past, neurologically, right? We can talk about it spiritually, metaphorically, but neurologically. Just looking at questions. What about rejection? Rejection relative to what? Rejection can be seen as disappointment on the face. So disappointment lines are right here on the corners of the lips. It's actually caused from smiling when somebody doesn't want to smile. It's like if you have a fake smile, don't ever fake emotions. Like, it's actually like the worst thing for your health, faking emotions. Any emotion, don't fake it, because it will actually wrinkle your face far more than anything else. But yeah, disappointment lines, we could call that rejection, but that would be a bridge to get there. I'd have to kind of talk to you and know you to delineate if that's the cause. And you can actually see a difference on both sides of the face. Like if you split the face in half in Chinese face reading, the true right side of the face is how somebody wants to be perceived. It's correlated to who they are in the public eye. It's correlated to, this is the right side, who they are in their career. So oftentimes when you see the disappointment lines, if it's more so on the right, there's disappointment in their public life. There's disappointment in their career life. The other side of the face, the left side of the face, if you see disappointment lines here, that's more of like who they really are, what they're hiding from the world, and also correlates to their personal life, their most intimate relationships. So you can actually see where the lines are stronger. And you can do that with any trait on the face, by the way. Eyebrows, eyes, inner canthus, nose, mouth shape, chin shape, lines. You'll start to see differences between the two sides, and what you're seeing is a difference between those two aspects, between the right and the left. I actually just realized I have a session that I have to get to. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for being here and for hitting my goal. Go to the link in my bio. I have all my free stuff, all of my courses, how to work with me. Go follow me on Instagram. That's for my men's work. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a zero cost way to support me. Share my content, all the things. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love flowers and roses. Thank you. Roses are my favorite. Actually, all flowers are my favorite. I love all flowers. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday, 12 p.m. PST. So you can come back. Yes, you can book a face reading. It's $195. And the link is in my bio. So and those are very fun and very insightful. So if you want all my attention and focus just on your face, it's a good one. You can book that. The link is in my bio. All right. Bye guys.